right, you claustrophobic colonels. It's time to dust off your starter jackets, rip off those tearaways, and blow into your game cartridges. I'm Sam Blanford.
I'm Pat Sellers.
I'm Sean Kelly, and we wish it was the 90s. Now, before we get started, I'd like to give a big welcome back to Craig, our bot, who prevented us from recording earlier in the week. So if we are a little light on the details today, it's because we watched these episodes quite a while ago.
And my notes are poor.
Yeah. I was going to bring this up before. So today we've got Orphan's End, Love in Vain, The Juggernaut Returns, A Deal with the Devil. A lot of episodes that are out of order on Disney Plus, and we know that's due to the release. And so some of these were released in season 4, some were in season 3, some were earlier in the season, later. And it does make you wonder, in my opinion, based on these episodes, it seems an odd way to end a season.
Well, and the fact that isn't one of them like season 4, episode 21? I think that might be the last episode we watched.
I also did. I don't know if any of you guys had it, but I think it was. I went and found Love in Vain, and then I watched it, and it automatically played Juggernaut's Return when they were like miles apart on the actual list for Disney Plus.
The algorithm's picking up on your preferences.
Yeah, I don't know.
If the algorithm was picking up on my preferences, it would have played the one that's got Lotus in the title, because that's all about Wolverine.
I thought it would just play you a whole bunch of space stuff.
I can confirm that. Have you haven't watched the Lotus one yet, though, Sam?
But I was fizzing when I saw it was there.
Think about that season 1 episode where Logan goes to the ice, but he goes to Japan, because it's pretty much the same.
Forgot about that ice scene. That was so good.
That's a great. I look forward to that. And I've got another question before we get started. And maybe it's the circumstances of my life, but I felt a lot of X-Men animated series fatigue watching these 4.
Yeah, I feel that. I was trying to work at the same time, so my notes are super dusty, and I was sort of half paying attention. I also sort of daydreamed through that first one about One Eye, mostly because just at the opening scene, they had a real brief mention about how Gambit has all-nighters every now and then, and I was like, this is real sus. Like he's a real sort of dubious character. Like he's definitely a massive pest. Then I pretty much daydreamed through the whole episode about how he was actually like a serial predator, and there's like obvious signs, but like the X-Men would end up getting interviewed on the news and being like, "Oh, we didn't see any signs. We never really expected anything." It's like, you guys are full of shit.
Kind of guy you'd find wandering around Courtney Place at 6 a.m.
Never been there. Yeah, fatigue. You definitely fatigue, but I think at the start I was like, if we're doing 14 episodes of this, that's going to be a friggin', are we over it by the end of it?
Interesting, yeah. But I also thought I didn't particularly revel in this batch of episodes.
It's interesting. I would have thought you would have loved this first one. And basically all my notes were about ripping into you for whipping the first episode when I knew me and Sam would have hated it. So
I did quite like it.
I'll come back for the episode 2.
Spoiler, not my favourite episode in the bunch. But anyway, so Orphan's End, and we get a previously on Corsair of the Starjammers. And there's some spaceships, which I noted Sam would be reveling.
No, it's all about One Eye and space. Like, this must be your most painful episode.
I've got quite a few notes for this one because it's the first one of the bunch.
And there is that note. I can't remember what happens, but you brought it up, Pat, where someone says, perhaps it's Gambit. Wouldn't be the first time coming home in the early hours of the morning.
My first note is Gambit's a well-known pissman.
Could be a problem.
So the Shi'ar have got some concerns about some rebels or something, and turns out the rebel is Corsair, and One Eye and Storm rescue him. And then there's some some chat about some dog tags. They don't look like dog tags. And it's it's the Summers boys and their parents or their mother or something like that Corsair is wearing, and that's me. It's like, even though they've met a lot.
Squinty took way too long to twig there.
Also, like, they've spent a lot of time together. They never communicated by their actual names, code names only in the field.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, true. I didn't think about that. That's pretty funny. Wait, your name's Scott? My son's name's Scott. It's so weird.
They did have that line in whatever episode the Starjammers are in earlier on in the season where Corsair says to One Eye, I had a son. I don't think I'd recognize him if I saw him.
I think they had that in the previously on.
There you go. And then, so One Eye needs some time to process what's going on, and the Shi'ar are getting testy for not handing Corsair over. So the X-Men escape into their very well organized underground rail network. And I just know there's a lot of fighting going on here, and Storm is just doing all of the heavy lifting. And then we get Corsair's Cyclops backstory, which is, straight from the comics. Planes going down, one parachute. They strap Alex to Scott, and they get out, and they survive, and they think their parents died in a crash. Turns out, just before they crashed, they were kidnapped by aliens, which Sam would revel in.
I was not enjoying that part.
And then while they're trying to get away, the Shi'ar are closing in, and I just enjoyed when Corsair said to One Eye, check out your old man, when he's like blasting away.
Did Scott remember the plane thing, or was it just Corsair?
Nah, I think he remembers it because he thinks that's how his parents died. But then there is also the added thing of he hits his head when he lands, and that's why he can't control his eye lasers and blah blah blah.
Oh, did that?
Yeah, okay. I thought maybe. I
don't know if it gets mentioned in the episode.
I thought Corsair might have made it up because he done.
Corsair.
You're gonna
going out to pick up
refer
milk
to him as Corsair, like
Corsair?
you referred to Walter
Corsair?
as Walt.
Walt, my mates. Yeah, I have nicknames for all my mates. Yeah, I thought he might have done I'm just popping down the shop to get milk and left his kids because One Eye is such a punish.
I just had this note that the Shi'ar people keep talking about Lord Chamberlain, and I'm like, isn't that something to do with the royal family in Britain? The Lord Chamberlain's like the head of security or the head of the house or something like that.
Speaking of things I hate, the royal family is one of them.
And so,
a movie about space and the royal family. It would be my least favorite movie of all time.
Star Wars.
So if like Prince Harry ends up being an astronaut, like you're gonna just blow your lid.
His Corsair, like this is where he's like sat down and told Scott the whole story.
Yeah.
He's like, you might not like what I'm going to tell you. Like, it just harkened back to like, felt like he was about to tell him about birds and the bees, like father, son.
Yeah, it's good. Is that when he does the big, tell me, Dad? And he keeps sarcastically referring to him as Dad. Real weird. Fuck, One Eye. He's such hard work.
So the storyline progresses as corrupt cops kidnapping and a treasure situation going on with the Shi'ar, and then our old mates Hepzibah, Corsair's cat girlfriend, and Chode or Chod.
I got
Surely
a
it's Chode.
character called Chode.
He's that lizard guy. He's a bit grumpy.
It's spelled. I only knew it because the subtitles are wrong.
Oh yeah.
Was it Chod?
Chod.
O-E, so it's not a long O sound.
And the other Starjammer there, I can't remember his name, ponytail guy, captures Storm. And I think I don't know, I've got written down Ragnar seems like the bad guy. I assume that's the Shi'ar dude. And they're trying to save someone called Jandra. And I just had a note that probably means little to anyone, but in the current X-Men continuity, Lilandra and Professor X's daughter, Xandra, is the Empress of the Shi'ar. Anyway, it turns out Corsair's got someone on the inside, someone helping him with the dodgy police, and they keep talking about Aldebaran 5, and I wondered if that was a Star Wars reference to Alderaan, the home planet of Princess Leia, Sam.
Yeah, sorry, blank.
And anyway, the Cyclops and Storm and the Starjammers win, and then the bad cops get taken to face some Shi'ar justice or something around, and then Cyclops and Corsair get some good bonding time, and I couldn't help feel bad for Alex. Or Havoc, as you may remember him from the X Factor episode, Sam.
I can't, but go on.
The Iceman episode. The blonde guy who had similar powers to One Eye.
When you talked about blonde guy, I was jumping ahead to Cody.
Oh, I don't like Cody.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, that's all I've got on Orphan's End. It's all right. I don't mind the One Eye Corsair stuff. But
It's
yeah,
good. I quite liked
I
it.
did catch a couple of like sort of funnier bits, but yeah, in between sort of daydreaming about the Westchester Ripper, but that Ragnar guy, the Shi'ar guy, he's definitely on something. His eyes are fucking huge. He's on something up there.
maybe he turned up at that time because he'd been out with Gambit.
Yeah, that makes
Herbals.
sense. Yeah, he's back on. Maybe that's where all the New Zealand BZP herbals ended up out in space with the Shi'ar Empire. And I thought it was quite funny when that Hepzibah, the cat lady, when she has a fight, she falls off something, but she keeps landing on her feet. I don't know. I just keep cracking up at that.
You've got a thing for the feline-themed characters, Pat.
Do I?
You're a big Sabretooth guy.
Yeah, that's true.
I liked, I think at one point, it says, not even the Shi'ar slave pens could stop me from finding you. Have you not been watching? You've spent multiple episodes with him. And when Squinty hands his father over, I just wrote, because I was watching it obviously in real time, and I felt like he was doing the wrong thing, as usual. And I was right.
He doesn't handle this very well at all.
And at the end, I don't know who says it, but where they're like, "Oh, can you stay for a couple of hours?" It's like, "Oh no, break out the cars." So that's a good line.
I mean, family cards night with Corsair and Scott.
What game are they playing?
Surely 500.
Uno.
Yeah, that'd be more their speed.
One Eye.
Interesting other fact about that little backstory that some people probably don't know. So in the comic books, it got retconned that when Corsair and his wife got captured, she was pregnant with a third son, and they kill her in front of Corsair and remove the baby and experiment on it. And he comes back into the fold much later as the character Vulcan, the third Summers brother, who's super overpowered and super unbalanced, very unstable guy. Anyway, Love and Vain. I didn't like it.
Moving from one episode featuring Absolute Punish to another with the introduction of Cody. Although I think we've had Cody before.
In flashback form.
I was real confused at this episode.
He's tough in this.
Yeah. I mean, there's some really good Meg content, I must say.
Yeah,
But
could be contact Rogue's meant to. I enjoy Rogue stuff. Just
but
Cody's desperation was.
well, Cody and we all know I'm a big fan of aliens, but these aliens sucked.
I
This is
thought
the
they were
one
pretty
where he
funny.
like he comes across. He's like doing like meditating or something, and there's a
Meg,
yeah, and there's like a plane crash or an alien ship crash at the start.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so it starts with One Eye and Jean heading off for a date night or whatever, and Rogue's a bit jealous, which is fair because she can't really have that.
Looking out the window with her bedtime gloves on.
And her giant teddy bear.
I missed that.
And then we get this fish alien thing, which turns out to sort of be a spaceship, but alive. And then, yeah, Meg's meditating, and that's mint. He says, "Whoa, cockroaches from Mars. Large economy size." And I noted now that every alien in this show speaks English, which is nice. And they capture Meg, and
not before he tries to jump on their backs from a height. It always works.
He's got to move. And then it cuts to Gambit having more cracks at Rogue, and Cody calls or something, and so she goes to meet up with him. And she gives Cody the big rundown of her life over a date, and the X-Men, her family, and stuff like that, which she identified earlier on in a Rogue specific episode.
Is that the date at Foxy Restaurant?
I think it might be. And Cody's got some sort of master plan, it would seem, and how he can be able to touch Rogue. And at this point, I was like, maybe the aliens are working with Cody, but we'll see. Anyway, then we get a shot of inside the fish ship, and it's fucking gross in there.
Yeah, it's like the Upside Down in Stranger Things.
Yeah, it's awful. And then I noted that the aliens have got like metal arms as well as alien arms, which is great for Meg because that gives them something to slice. And yeah, the bugs really suck. And so the bugs' plan is to capture the X-Men for some reason. And they know this because they've seemed to have secured the TV show's intro footage.
I was extremely confused at the entire episode. Like, is Cody a mutant?
I mean, no.
And he's calling... So, does Rogue have another name?
She does, but I think at this point in time, comic book-wise, she doesn't know her real name.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard her other name, whatever it is. And he's calling her Rogue. It just seemed weird if he was from her past.
I noticed that as well. And I was like, surely he'd be calling her whatever her high school name was.
Yeah, like...
Or did she go to high school as Rogue?
Imagine that sort of next year in social studies. Sean, you're next to Rogue.
Has anyone seen Rogue today? Is Rogue at school? So yeah, and then there's I don't know, Wolverine contacts the X-Men to like he breaks free of the bugs or whatever, and
that when he's on the phone.
Yeah, and Gambit says,
Oh, is that the payphone he gets to? Is he also like too short to operate that payphone? Like, he looks like he's really stretching up.
He's 5'3". Same height as Muggsy Bogues.
Telling me there's a chance.
Gambit says, Wolverine don't normally make sense, but this makes less sense than usual. And then I can't even remember what's happening, but I've noted that Professor X has been a jerk about personal time. Oh, so Rogue wants some personal time to go and hang out with Cody, and Professor X has been a dick about it. I mean, he let One Eye and Jean go out for a date, but anyway. And
Rogue
then
takes the company vehicle out on the town with Cody.
I also thought, why doesn't Rogue suspect something's up when her powers didn't work and she passed out?
Yeah, it's real. I didn't know what was going on.
And then they find Meg outside the bug ship place, and Meg turns into a bug monster. The X-Men get captured, except Meg, who runs off and beats off
Stop.
beats off. What?
What happens?
Oh no, don't worry.
Sorry, he beats off the transformation with sheer will.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
and healing powers. But at the time, I was like, did he just will this away? And then it's like, his healing powers are the reason it doesn't work.
Speaking of beating off, Beast popped a boner when he saw that alien ship.
He does love alien ships. And so Rogue is turning as well. Absorbs Meg's healing powers to beat it. And so turns out Cody's master plan is he wants to be aliens with Rogue so they can be together. What a fucking idiot.
Yeah, that's so weird. He's an alien. He's not a human or a mutant.
It's just like the end of Shrek where the Princess Fiona turns into a Shrek instead of Shrek turning into a prince, and everyone's happy about it. Like, I wouldn't want to look like that.
Lose. I feel like Cody had a better chance with Rogue than Gambit has had so far for much of this episode. Gambit must have been spewing.
Like that time he got jealous over Archangel. Anyway, yeah, so Rogue's an absolute idiot for whatever she's done in this episode. And then Professor X does some mind probing and tells us that the fish ship's sentient and a prisoner or something or other. And anyway, the X-Men win and Cody chooses the bug life.
He would. Good riddance.
Unfathomable. Any thoughts or?
Cody is potentially creepier than Gambit.
Yeah. I was really surprised how Rogue was just so off the bat eager for this. And even though she kissed him, passed out, and her powers didn't work, and she's still like, I'm keen to spend a weekend with this guy.
I felt like they just tried to pigeonhole a Rogue episode in because they needed a bit more backstory. Like we haven't got much Storm. Like Storm feels like Storm and Beast actually both feel like quite bit characters at the moment. Actually Gambit as well, but Beast is barely in any of these episodes.
Yeah, true.
Which is odd because he was never supposed to be in lots of episodes, but then they upped him to regular after his popularity.
It's just it's a lot of this season Cyclops.
Yeah, Cyclops and I guess Jean. Although I find the thing about the Phoenix stuff is it's all about Jean, but it's actually more about everyone's reaction to what's going on with Jean rather than Jean herself.
This would have been a good bit to talk about on the Phoenix episode.
Cut it back in.
Oh well.
Bonus
Instead,
material.
Instead, we're going to talk about the Juggernaut Returns.
We
get it previously on the Juggernaut. And it opens with Eugene Torbett Widdespan.
Is
this the nerdlinger?
Was that his name? Oh, wow. Yeah, he's hard work as well. But these episodes have had, like, or at least these 4, is like some real punishing sort of side or newish characters. But then, like, some really great, like, mainline villains.
Really trying to make sure you like the characters who you see more often. So Eugene is in the Temple of Sitarak. And he's got a bit of a small man syndrome complex going on.
He looks like he's, or sounds like he's about to cry at the end of every sentence, unless he laughs.
Yes. And then it cuts to Juggernaut walking underwater, punching a shark, and then being a general menace.
I miss Juggernaut.
This is good. There's some real good Juggy stuff in this episode. So,
Juggy?
Yeah. Well, that's what he calls himself.
That's what I thought Pat would call him, Juggernaut.
Lest we forget, when he gets
Juggy
to
boy.
the mansion, he says, "Here's Juggy."
Shit, they love a Shining reference.
They really do. He's causing absolute chaos on the bridge, but then everything takes a real comical turn when he pulls a roof off a cab and is driving to the mansion.
That is outstanding.
He's massive.
I wonder if
When
a
he's-
toy exists of that, for the toys that they would have created for this show. I wonder if there's one of Juggernaut in the cab. I really want it if there is.
When he was driving towards the mansion, somehow the computer in the mansion said, "Warning, Juggernaut approaching." Not exactly sure how that happens.
Maybe they're tracking him.
And then, so he turns up. Here's Juggy, and then it cuts to like everyone get to the mansion. Juggernaut's coming, and it appears that Meg and One Eye are on Muir Island checking on Morph.
Yeah, I was confused as why we saw that but didn't get any explanation.
To explain why they're not in the episode, I guess. But they are in the episode, because they go and I guess this to explain why they're not at the mansion. But I mean, I love the fact that they were visiting Morph. That was meant. I'd probably rather have seen an episode of the three of them having yarns.
Bad guy bars around there too, isn't it?
Where everybody knows your name.
Sorry, but is there a relationship between the nerdy hieroglyphic man and Juggernaut, or is it just
no? I think he's just found out about this ruby gem of Sitarak and the powers that could give you, and he wants them because he's got a small man complex.
I see.
He's obviously spent his entire life trying to get these powers, and then when he gets them, he's like straight out on the town to try and pull.
After the Meg and One Eye on Muir Island, we get to see Jubilee at someone's swimming pool, which I was weirded out by. Well, I couldn't work out. And then a nice shot of Gambit fixing a school bus. And Juggernaut enters Juggernaut storming the mansion. He ends up in the danger room, and Professor X gets all sorts of things going on him, including a little battle with the Hulk, which is nice. And then he loses his power because Eugene is quoting the sacred texts with the gem of Sitarak or something. And
at some point, X gets carried around like a toddler again for about 2 minutes.
I love it when that happens. So demeaning.
It's not even Beast. I don't even think it's Beast either. Like Rogue's carrying around or Storm's carrying around, like make it even look more ridiculous.
Jubilee probably.
I noted. I noted that Storm's wearing an excellent outfit again. Outrageous at least.
She doesn't look 70 in this one though.
Professor X has been a jerk again, and then we get the Step Brothers flashback. Turns out Juggernaut's father is also a jerk. Only married the prof's mother for the money.
I was interested in more of that storyline. Seemed a real weird setup.
Blonde X is a real wiener. I love the quote the dad says, until you be nice to that sickly little geek Xavier.
It's good.
We find all that stuff out. Yeah, sweet. And someone says, so Cyclops and Meg turn up at the bar that the new Juggernaut Eugene's at, and they're like, come with us, we need to help you or whatever. And he's like, no, I'm having too much fun. And One Eye says, looks like we're going to have to do this the hard way. And he goes, now you're talking. And Meg actually doesn't do particularly well. But they manage to steal the ruby. And then it cuts back to the mansion, and Storm's giving Professor X a really good lesson on being a nicer bloke, which he needs. And then Juggy gets his powers back, and Eugene still kind of sucks. And so instead of just looking after it, Juggy decides to throw the ruby into space, and the episode ends.
Yeah, that lost me there.
Why didn't he hold on to it?
Well, he just threw it into space. I was over it then. No,
As soon as it would have gone to the sky, you would have looked away, not having any of that space nonsense.
I suppose Juggernaut does a nice thing by leaving the mansion and not destroying it on the way out because they helped him or whatever. It's weird though, because they literally, they saved his life, but they gave a villain back his superpowers.
They're all quite they weren't up for it, like they weren't keen on it, eh?
No. Also, Juggernaut's dying. Where's his best mate, Black Tom?
Yeah, about that.
Controversial name.
I was quite surprised that when old mate stole the power of Sitarak and got Juggernaut's powers, that those powers didn't improve eyesight. He still had to keep wearing his glasses, even though he was huge.
Yeah. Good observation there.
I was also just confused overall by Juggernaut's powers and why. So, how did he initially get his powers? Is that explained in the
maybe in an earlier Juggernaut episode?
Okay, maybe
I can't remember, but context is Charles and Kane, as he was known at the time, were serving in Korea and stumbled across it somehow, and Prof got out. Like, it was like the whatever, something happened, like the rubble cave, whatever, and Juggy decided he was going for it or whatever, and he got the gem and he got the Juggernaut powers. I mean, who knows how he even knew how to say that ancient text. But
and so he obviously chooses not to have the ruby on him. The guy the nerdlinger, ruby on him.
Yeah, so he left it in the temple.
Yeah, but Juggy's like, well, nah, I don't. And then he threw it into space. So he's basically like, I have no power over keeping my powers. Basically, if some
alien fish ship finds it, and
what came first must be this. How early would have Juggernaut been in the comics?
First 10 issues.
The 60s, is that when X-Men?
Yep. 63, 64.
You think that's where Kane Wrestler got his name?
Similar outfits, right? Love a red theme.
Him and Undertaker like brothers or step brothers or something?
Yeah, they're brothers.
Brothers, there you go.
And they're controlled by the urn of their burnt down house or parents or something. Remember that guy Paul Bearer used to carry it around and control them?
I forgot about that. Yeah. An episode on 90s wrestling would go all right.
Marty, I didn't watch the fight, but Marty, great listener of the pod, Marty Timawananu, he sent me a Snapchat of the UFC fight today, and old mate, what's his name, the Kiwi fighter,
I didn't say or whatever his name is,
also walked into the octagon holding an urn today.
UFC's the worst sport around.
Fighting sports in general are stupid.
Boxing and UFC are ridiculous.
Lost all the fans of the royal family and of UFC.
I'm here for the hot takes, Pat.
Yeah. But if you want us to cover the Monday night WCW WWF wars, gladly.
Big Booker T fan over here.
Last episode, Deal with the Devil. I think this was my favourite episode of the 4.
Easily.
Previously on Omega Red stuff. And
I've forgotten what this was about until you said that. Yeah.
So some random dudes are looking for Omega Red, and one of them says, "Not going to make the same mistake the Soviets did." I mean, you probably will, but okay. And so it turns out they're US soldiers who want him to do something and put a bomb in him if he doesn't comply, which is a classic Suicide Squad DC thing that means nothing to Sam, probably.
Yeah, but Suicide Squad, a little bit Captain America when they dig him out the ice at the start.
Mm-hmm. Suicide Squad's a team of villains who get bombs in their head and sent on suicide missions.
I know a little bit about the Suicide Squad.
Because your kids in your class like them?
Nah, it came out a few years ago. It's quite big, even though it was horrendous. Like Will Smith and Margot Robbie in that.
Absolutely awful.
Yeah, that was the first one. Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently the second one's good, but
yeah, Jared Leto's like Joker or something.
Please never bring up Jared Leto's Joker.
Yeah. The second one's alright.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
The gun
but
one.
Yeah, John Cena's in it, so obviously we should watch it because we're wrestling fans.
That series he did of the spin-off Peacemaker was outstanding. If you watch that, it's funny as.
That's John Cena's character, eh?
Mm.
Yeah, John Cena's quite good comedic chops, I think.
Yeah, he does. He's really good in that. When he plays the boyfriend of Amy Schumer in her movie, keeps saying heaps of real homoerotic stuff when like someone's trying to fight him in a cinema.
He's also real good in the Mark Wahlberg, Will Ferrell co-parenting movies.
Yeah.
Anyway, not from the 2000s. Yeah, that's it. So anyway, Omega Red's really got it in for Megan Storm. So he's like, I'll do your mission, but I want these people to come with me to help me. And like, yeah, sweet as. And so the X-Men agree to it for some reason. And it turns out it's a submarine mission. So, we all know at this point, not good for Storm.
That's where my claustrophobic colonel came from.
Well, it's not good for either of them because old mate's got to be in that suit.
Makes it
the best part.
Easy does it, Storm. If those Soviet wise guys built subs like they built Chernobyl, I don't want to give this one any reason to lose its cool.
But before this, so did X send Storm and Meg?
Yeah.
Why did he agree to this?
He's a government bootlicker.
There's nothing to do with them.
Yeah, it's just because Omega Red requested them.
Yeah, like, why else would he have requested them? Only for bad things.
Madness. But then Meg's up for it because he's like, I'm keeping on this motherfucker, yeah?
Maybe that's how Xavier's actually making all his money. It's not just the floaty chairs. He's a government contractor on the payroll. And you got to send a couple of your little mates there.
You made me just wonder how, like, obviously he inherited heaps of money, but do you reckon he just walks into banks and like mind controls them to give him massive loans? I mean, he doesn't walk in, apologies, but hovers in.
Probably not loans. You just,
you just about give me the money.
Give me the money.
Yeah, transfer me this amount of money, please. Anyway,
that's all mortgage fraud. So, mind power, so my income's a little higher than you think. You'll just be taking the money.
And so when Meg and Storm find out what the mission is and they're on their way down, Meg goes, an island vacation in a toxic nuclear powder keg, 3 miles underwater. Yep, this is pretty much Shangri-La.
It was a great Meg episode.
Yeah.
And then Omega Red does a hard to predict double cross. And so they need the X-Men and the Navy to help out the situation. And Omega Red launches some missiles that the X-Men destroy. And they get out. And Omega Red ends up stuck at the bottom of the ocean. I miss anything?
At the end of the episode.
You missed the bit about how Meg was in the diver's suit, and Storm talks him out of popping his claws while he's in the diving suit for about 10 seconds, and then he does it. I enjoyed that. And I also thought Omega Red pronounces Colonel properly because of the way it's spelled. He says
Colonel.
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 I was like, that's how it should be said. How's that Colonel?
How is that, Colonel?
The Colonel.
But it was a great episode.
Speaking
Great
of the
episode.
Colonel,
I really like that.
Speaking of the Colonel.
we found a worse leader than X.
Yeah. You notice how much hand and arm movement he makes when he's talking? Like at
And
the
his
start,
t-
he's
and
like
his
talking on
tie.
that video phone, and he's just all hand movement. Makes no
His
sense.
tie, he's getting his tie out the way of his hand movements because it's tucked into his shirt the whole episode.
I suppose the only other thing you missed is surely Sam has got the closing statement, and he's been practicing it. Surely.
What,
see, this
our
one-
sign off? Or what do you
No,
mean?
the
Oh, it's
sign
Meg's.
off from this episode.
Oh, yeah, I don't remember it.
He's
Full
out
dis-
there. I can smell him.
Full disclaimer, I watched this episode on the bottom of my daughter's bed while she was falling asleep with headphones on. So I didn't get many notes. And it cut off with like a minute 30 to go. And I was like, what the hell's going on? I couldn't get it back. And then we went to podcast and I couldn't podcast. And I've just never watched it again since.
Yeah.
At the start, who does he call? Does Meg call someone Winnie the Pooh? We'll call Omega Red Winnie the Pooh. I thought that was fucking great. Yeah, who does he think he's dealing with? Winnie the Pooh? Surely there aren't any torpedoes that can launch into the air like that from underwater.
I don't know how torpedoes work.
If you can make a chair float, probably do it.
What happened?
Maybe
with
that's
that? What's that big bomb that got dropped in the middle of the bloody Bikini Atoll or whatever it is?
us.
Was that dropped into the water? From the water.
I
You know,
don't
that massive nuclear... Isn't that famous?
Yes, it is famous. It rings bells, but I don't know, man.
Tell us in the slacks.
Yeah, please, get in the slacks. And also, if you want to find the slacks, you can find us in our Facebook group. Wish it was the 90s. It's up to about 25 followers now. That's nice. We're on Instagram and Twitter at WIWT90S. I always want to throw in an extra S.
Really
Every time I want to throw in an extra
remember.
S. Or you could just, hashtag the same thing and we'll see it. Give us a little rating if you want to. Maybe a review. Next episode we're
You
into
can say
season
whatever
4.
you want a review. Just make sure it's 5 stars. You can be like, "This is shit," and I couldn't understand anything they said.
Like
5
our
stars.
mates on Reddit sledging Pat for calling Walter Walt.
Yeah, I stand by that.
My cousin has listened to every episode. He's never played Final Fantasy VII. He's never watched X-Men. I think he just uses us to go to sleep at night. Do that.
Yeah, do that.
Happy to play that role.
So next
We're basically
episode
Headspace at this point.
we're into season 4, and there's definitely a little bit of a change of style coming up, I think, or production or something. Because we've seen a little bit of it in season 3 with the episodes that are all over the place. But next episode 9, we've got Sanctuary Part 1 and 2, Xavier Remembers, Courage, Secrets Not Long Buried, and Nightcrawler. And I can confirm that I could only remember Nightcrawler. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here.
Is Nightcrawler an enemy that we've come across in the past?
No.
I like the sound of Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler is... Remember we talked ages ago about revamp of the X-Men, where you get the new team of Storm and Wolverine and Banshee and Colossus. Nightcrawler is part of that team, so he's like a second-gen X-Men character. Very, very well liked in X-Men comic book scenes.
From
And has
memory,
a what's that?
from memory, this episode coming up, is that the one they've got to go into that like a monastery or something? There's these weird
Well,
priest
Nightcrawler's
characters.
spoiler for next episode, but Nightcrawler's a devout Catholic.
Wow.
So he always brings a bit of a religious element. Don't never bring religion into it.
That's I won't mention don't mention the royal family.
We're sort of. I feel like season 4 is the start of the end because season 5 is quite short. So we are well and truly past the halfway point here. I'm pretty excited for season 4 because I don't remember heaps of it, but I do remember some of the episodes that are part of season 4 that are quite exciting.
So if you were to rank the seasons 1 through 3, what would your order be?
1, 3, 2.
Which season was Sabretooth and Wolverine screaming at each other on Little Iceberg?
That's season
That's
1.
2. Is it 2? Yeah.
That's season 1, isn't it?
Yeah, that's like episode 4 or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, definitely 1 then. It also introduced Bad Guy Bar too. So
I like season. I've liked this season for the Phoenix stuff and just some really good episodes. Season 2's pretty good with some of that stuff as well. Like it's reasonably close, but season 1, kicks off with a bang and just meeting all these characters and whatever the hell they're up to. Season 1 kicks ass.
Yeah, season 1, then 2, then 3. I've struggled through this last season. 2 had some great episodes. Did it also have the Savage Lands?
Yep.
Yeah, I forgot about that little parallel story. That was good. Yeah, I think you got the right order.
3. So let's hope 4. It's doing the opposite of Harry Potter for me.
Harry Potter peaked at 3 for me.
Yeah, no, I like 6.
There's some interesting stuff coming in season 4. I'm very excited for Sam's reaction to. It's not till podcast Ep 11, but have yourself a Morlock Little Christmas.
Christmas special, how good!
And there's this one called Beyond Good and Evil, which is it's twisted from memory.
Fantastic. You guys remember the sign off?
Yep. Mission accomplished, buddy.
Let's go home. Smell powers.